and I'll check on my end and see what's going on.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that, you guys. We're getting our laptop fixed because I ran over it on the trip. That was the only fatality that we had, the only mishap that we had. I wonder if, and so we're using a different laptop tonight, and we're not used to it, and so it ran out of battery. So evidently they use a lot when live streaming, so that's what happened. All of these videos are live streamed. We don't do any recorded videos. It's all live stream. And we've just always done it that way. You know, there's no second take. So if I say something really dumb, too bad. It's recorded for prosperity. For posterity. So I was saying the reason why I think, you know, this really is my opinion. All right, it's my opinion, but I think I would instruct my children this way, that we, instead of just doing things the way that some, or maybe the way it's instructed in a instruction manual, or so on and so on, when it comes to things like homesteading, farming, intentional living, just plain old living, you know, that type of thing, it's a good idea back up from what you're doing and then look at it, study it, and say, well, you know, I think I'm going to do it this way. And that might be consistent with the way other people are doing it. It might be, but it might not. And then you run the risk of, we could have a big mistake. Yeah. Is that a bad thing? Sometimes. You know, I had a terrible thing happen. Terrible thing happen. I've had a lot of terrible things happen, but here's just one terrible thing that happened. We knocked off a pig in early fall. Wait a minute. Yeah, early fall. And we hunted, and at the same time harvesting apples. And so where we were hanging the hams, hanging them now, we thought, hey, this is a nice spot in here too. We, at the time we had trees out there, we only have one now, but, and so that locker, it as a cooler that we built, but then I scrapped a better cooler from an HVAC guy that I was doing business with at the time. He got it from a Subway, right? And this cooler was better than the one that we built. And so the one we just relegated it to storage, right? But then when we started hanging meat, it was a good place to hang meat because it was on the north side of the building, so it stayed relatively cool and nobody went in there much and all this. But we put the apples in there, and the kids were going in and out of there getting apples. And what happened was the door got left open. And it was early in the fall that the flies were still active, and a fly got in those hams. And we just thought, well, it's fall, you know, don't have to. And I remember going in there, and something struck me when I went in, and it wasn't very well lit, and the flashlight, and I looked at it, and I could see something dripping out the bottom of it. And then I looked closer at the bottom of this ham. You know, it's like a 20-pound ham, and it's just maggots in there. So Yeah. So both of them, or all four of them in there, were full of maggots, and so we had to basically took them out, hung them in the chicken's pen. Maggots continue to work their magic up through that ham, and they did. They shelled it completely up, but the maggots kept dropping into the chicken. It's good enough for them. So that was a terrible thing that happened. Looking back on it, well, I had to get real serious about a hanging room, and so I did build a hang. It was at the other house that we used to own. We don't own it anymore. But that wasn't the answer. It's the time of the year that you process. You process until the flies are gone, and we know that now. I want to be processing in the summertime. I want to be processing in the late fall, early winter. It's midwinter. It was 30 degrees, beautiful day. But live and learn, and I don't think that will happen again. I'm going to be very cautious when you see that some really nice hams that you've prepared and you've hung them up and you thought nothing can go wrong now, and then they're full of maggots. It's a blow to your soul, you know. Not really, but it set me back a little bit. This is one of those times when I'm saying, why am I doing this? Why don't I just go get Oscar Mayer, like everybody else? So, yeah, we are cruising across country and talking about alternative farming and alternative living. And I would suppose that Sean, just processing pigs, and I've never appreciated the cold like I am now. Yeah, right. It works for you, doesn't it? It really does. There's no flies now, that's for sure. Might have the odd fly in the house that shows up once in a while, but not going to bother us outside. But we were talking about alternative farming on the way cross country, and it's very important for us. I think, anyway. This isn't, I don't want to be too dogmatic here, but I think it's important for us to acknowledge that the smartest guy that we know in homesteading does not have the market cornered by any means. There's multiple ways, and some of them might be better, of the mind that, hey, if you come up with a better way to do this, I want to know, because if it is better, I want to know, right? If you tell me, oh, scalding and scraping, there's a better way than that, skin them, I'm going to say to you, well, I tried that, and I'm here to tell you that is not a better way. Scalding and scraping is definitely a better way for the type of processing that we do, here. I guess if you're in a shop environment, I can see why why most processors do it that way. It's because maintaining the scalding and scraping aspect of it is tedious, and they're not, very few of them are doing just pigs. Most of them are doing pigs and beef, and to that much space with scalding and scraping, and the amount of personnel that it takes to do that, that's kind of a lot. But for the homesteader, I think it's the best way to go, because when you have a pig that is scun and the entire outside of that body is just slippery fat, as soon as something touches it, it sticks to it, right? And for the type of charcuterie that we're doing, a lot of the cuts, we want them to have the skin on, because it provides a good barrier for what we're going to do with this meat. couple mosquitoes in here. Stand by. I'm drinking coffee tonight. For your information, I haven't been doing my carnivore diet for a while, and I'm paying for it. It feels like I have a perpetual hangover. So part of the reason for that is we don't have any beef. We've gone through all of our beef, and all the beef that I have here now is standing out there in the yard mooing at me whenever I walk by. But I'm going to alleviate that next week because I need beef. Pork is not the same. It's definitely not the same. Beef is the way to go, and my body just craves beef, so I need it. So I am going back on the carnivore diet as soon as I can, but in the meantime, I'm doing the best I can, the best I can. But I'm not gaining any weight. That was never the idea, but I do have a good scale now, so I'm keeping an eye on what's going on, and I'm right at 240, and that's probably where I should be. 6'4", 240. That's about right, I think. So anyway, that's just for your information. But alternative, one of the things that I was really impressed with when I was out in Texas was the sense of by hook or by crook that these people have. Usually people from New England used to be like that. They could get it done one way or another, and it was called by hook or by crook. We will get this done. But I saw that kind of dwindle in my years in the Air Force, where we would have people coming in that were Generation X type people. So I guess they're from 1964 until whenever, and they were not necessarily get her done type people as a group. I had several incidents that happened where I would tell somebody, hey, I need this done, da 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 da, and I would come back and it was completely not done, and I would say, what have you been doing? Well, I couldn't find this part, so I was just waiting until you came back. And it's like, that was 4 hours ago. Like, you didn't think about getting on a phone and calling me or come finding me or anything. I mean, no, you just gonna wait until I came back and called you an idiot for not getting anything done. And I mean, honestly, there was a time we were doing this cleanup project of a building that I was custodian of, and I had a brand new guy working for me, brand new. He wasn't going to be working for me. He was just assigned to me until he could be permanently assigned. And we were going to put in some fencing up in front of the facility. And I said, you ever run a post hole digger? And he's like, no. And I said, do you think you can do it? I showed him how to do it. And I came back, no joke, 3 hours later, and he's standing there talking with another guy. And I'm not kidding. The hole is this deep. And I said, didn't I tell you to dig these holes? And he said, well, yeah, but I didn't want to go too deep. And I just I can't use you. You're just too much of an idiot. And he actually did not stay in the Air Force. But that was kind of let's see, that guy would be 50 years old now, probably. This is a lot of years. This is 20-something years ago. But what I noticed with this group was they were going to get it done one way or another. And so there was never a time this weekend when I saw people just get jammed up. Like, we cannot go any further. They would figure out a way to go around it, over it, under it, or straight through it, right? And that is the essence of homesteading, right? It really is, because we do not have like a homesteader's manual that you can go to, or a flow chart or anything like this. This is a very customized lifestyle that the people that are in it are breaking trail as they go. So the term suitable substitute, is something that you have to contemplate and think about. And like, what does it really mean? I buy a battery for a vehicle, and I to try to put it in the vehicle, and it doesn't exactly fit perfectly. What do? We need the vehicle, and the battery is 12 volts. It's just configured a little differently. It will work. You just have to figure out a way to fit it in there. So does that mean you have to maybe the inner fender in a little bit? Nobody will see it, and it accommodates the battery, right? And it's not like somebody's going to walk up and say, you can't do that. That's not in the homesteader's manual. It's not going to happen. A lot of this has got to be your call. This isn't. We don't have the luxury of calling up engineering and saying, will this work? Which probably they'd say, well, no, you can't do that. You just can't do that. We'll have to have a committee meeting over that, and we'll have to contemplate that, and along with our belly button for a while, and then we'll figure out how to do it. So suitable substitutes are things that you're going to really, when I say contemplate it, it's like everything that there is, there is a suitable substitute to it. And the more that you discover those, sometimes they're called hacks, right? This is how you hack this, right? The better off you're going to be. And I discover stuff. I told you guys, muriatic acid is something that when you are laying bricks, or you're building something out of stone and mortar, when you're done, there might be a little bit of mortar film on whatever you've built. And this muriatic acid is just a detuned sulfuric acid. It's just got a lot of water in it, so it's not that potent. It will burn your hands. You can actually feel it burning, but not anything like sulfuric will. And you can take it and put it on a brush with gloves on, and you can brush the rocks and stuff, and then hose it off, and the rocks will look nice and bright. Well, I had a problem with our toilet. The water is so hard here that it was changing the specifications of the throat of the toilet, and then about every fifth flush, you'd get hung up, and you'd have to get out the old plunger. And I just got to thinking, there's got to be a way to move that along. On the shelf at the store, there wasn't anything. There was nothing, And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, I'm going to try a little of that muriatic acid in there. So I put in about 8 ounces, and I was a little bit weary because the pipes below it were PVC. But I took some and I put it directly on some junk PVC that I had. It didn't do anything to it, so I thought I'll be safe here. But I didn't want to create a whole lot of heat. But I did that. Came back and checked it in 15 minutes. Flushed that toilet, and I could flush 10 golf balls down that toilet now. And before, it was like you couldn't flush bunny doot down there. So it's a hack. It was a suitable sub. It's not liquid plumber, but boy, did it work. It worked really good. So things like that have to be contemplated. Like whenever you get to a place where, this might not work the way I want it to, that might be an indicator to you that there's a different way to do it. And well, maybe we should, think about this for a couple minutes, and maybe there's something stored in my subconscious someplace that if I think I need a solution and say I need a solution for this, maybe it will come. Don't always try to go to, Google or anything like that. Although I got to admit, I had a light that came on the Pilot when we were coming cross country, and I was at a hotel, so I got on Google and I put in 2010 Pilot, VTF-4, and sure enough, thing comes up and tells me what it is and what it probably could be and all this stuff, and it's as long as it's not blinking, you're all right. And so, there is a time and a place for that, but that worked out pretty good. So suitable subs, like suitable living. All right. I met people. All right. Somebody wrote something there. HC Doi. Okay, that's some gibberish. I met people last weekend that were not restrained in any way by the norm of life in these United States of America. Not in any way. I mean, this one fellow that I met, he told me that, well, the price of properties I guess he was in Dallas, is like 4 times what he paid for. And so how can you not sell your house? Well, the problem with that is then you got to buy another house. And, this guy's got a family of 3 plus his wife, and buying another house just didn't look like a really good idea, because let's say you sell your house for 3 times or 4 times what you paid for it. The next house that you look at is going to be probably 3 or 4 times what it sold for, 3-4 years ago. So everything has gone up. So what he did is got to thinking about it, like, well, we need a place to sleep. We need a place to cook once in a while. What are the options? They wound up buying a 5th wheel and a pickup truck. I don't think they were pickup truck people before. I really don't. And once he made that step, like, I'm not going to live in a house, I'm going to live in a camper. And this guy is a very well-paid executive, and said, I'm going to do this. And everybody's working remote right now, right? So how does that work for him if you're working remote? It worked for him really well. So then you get your paycheck, and instead of sinking it into an exorbitant mortgage payment and insurances and all that stupid stuff that people are just waiting in line for you to write the checks, they're not writing you checks, you're writing them checks. That's just, now he was able to, I would assume, pay cash for his pickup truck trailer, and then whoop, gets paid every 2 weeks, and it's just, we'll just put that in savings. We'll just put, savings. So maybe someday, and he was the one that actually told me, well, our next step will probably be the homestead. So that's why he and I were conversing so intently. He was, when somebody needs to know something, you can tell. And when they believe that you have the answers to what they need to know, you can tell, you can feel it. And it's kind of nice, because it's a very direct person, very intentional person that comes and says, you have the solutions to my questions, and I want you to tell me. And that's excellent. In my opinion, it's like, well, that's what I'm here for. That's my mission, is to tell you what you need to do, so that this food system of ours that's being centralized in order to kill you is being decentralized so that you can survive, right? Sound a little radical, huh? A little bit radical, maybe? Let's see. We got some stuff being written down here, and I haven't been keeping up on it. Mobile life. This is Vindictal. Mobile life is a great strategy until they demand a vax for driver's licenses. That's kind of defeatist there, Vindictal. I bought a shuttle bus for the same reason. I used the bus to make my move to Arkansas to find my homestead. Great plan. But what about when they demand a vax for your driver's license? You know what? From the time that COVID struck until just before I went out to Texas, I didn't have a driver's license. I just didn't go. I didn't get it. You know, it's like I'm on the fence about a driver's license. Like, why do I have to go to the Secretary of State to say, can I have permission to drive on these roads? Why do I need permission? It's a permit. And so I was kind of like, I really don't want to do this. But then I thought, well, what happens if I get pulled over in Arkansas and an Arkansas state trooper says, can I see your license? And I hand him my library card. What will happen? So I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I probably should do it here at home. At least I'll be in a local jail if that's what's going to happen. But I didn't want to risk it going cross country, you know, because everybody else would be involved too. So, but I don't know about you, but that whole thing, that whole narrative, that whole you know, the medication that you got to get to keep you from getting that doesn't keep you from getting the Wu flu. I'm not supposed to talk about that on here anymore, but that whole thing, that narrative is just falling apart, isn't it? I mean, falling apart really quick. Although I have a friend in Canada and it's not falling apart there because of the people, right? Cruising across the United States, stopping at gas stations, stopping at a couple restaurants. I'd say we went in about 2-3 restaurants. You wouldn't, I don't know, it just didn't seem like there was anything going on. Occasionally, I would see somebody come in with a face mask on, and it would be like, oh, yeah. But it was just occasionally. We ate at a place, I think the first place we ate at was in Texas. Yeah. And I noticed the people are super friendly. Oh, I'm going to read this in a minute, Jonathan. I'm with you in just a sec. But I noticed the people are super friendly. I always sit with my back up against the wall and I watch the door. It's just old habits die hard. And I'm sitting there, and when someone comes in, my head comes up, and I noticed people in Texas would meet you. And when someone eyes locked with mine, I would just give them one of those, you know, or one of these. How you doing? Like that. And men, women, it was all the same. Get a smile and, you know, get a kind of a gesture back. And I thought that that was really nice. There was actually counted them. There was 6 of them in that restaurant. That people who, you know, kind of looked at you and engaged and, hey, how you doing? You know, not like that in Michigan. Not like that at all. Everybody's kind of on their own thing, and it just got worse with the Wu flu. But I think that that thing is running its course and it's going away. I really do. I just don't think that, you know, if governors come out and try to lock the state down, people are just blowing them off. It's just like, you know, shut up. I'm not doing it. You know, you go in a store and somebody says something, it's like, shut up. I told you what happened at our class. There was this really nice um, woman that came in, and I just decided I was going to mess with her a little bit. I kind of sized her up, and I thought I could kind of mess with her a little. And I was sitting at the greeting table. It's where people get their name tag, and we check them off, you know, when they come in. And I said, excuse me, ma'am, I'm going to need to see your record of vaccination. And she told me what I could do with myself, and it's a word that I will not use on here. But I got a real chuckle out of it because she just didn't look like, you know, that type. But I said, hey, I think we're going to get along just fine. All right, so let's see what we got here. Okay. Okay. Chef Jonathan, thank you again for the Crunchy Mama Farms hog class. I'll forever utilize what you taught us. Man, I wish I could have sat down with you before you left. I wanted to talk kill trucks. I think we'll get another chance to interface. I hope so. A bunch of those people are coming up here in March for the charcuterie class number 2. And so maybe you ought to think about jumping in. I think they're going to caravan. Maybe they'll all rent a bus or something and come along. That would be fun if you came. I think you'd get a kick out of this place. I wish we were a little bit later, because beginning of March can be rough, but so far this winter has just been a real pussycat. So maybe we'll see. Jay struggling. Yeah, what a good time. We ate your head cheese all the way cross country, all the way. Found a bullet in one of my pieces. That was the best head cheese. And Jonathan, I hope you've seen the video that Joe made. It was he thought it was very good, and I did too. I thought it was really good. Andy, you should come up here in March to the charcuterie class. We would have a blast. All right, man. Sounds good. Sounds good. What a fun time. You know what? It was. See, Jonathan is a professional chef, right? So he's probably 40-ish, I'd say. And if you've been around chefs, professional chefs, you can pick them out right away. You know, at least I can. And he had all the characteristics of a chef. In order for an executive chef to have control of his subordinates, sometimes they can be a little on the tyrannical side. And when these people go through Culinary Institute, they actually learn bearing and behavior that is very similar to military. Like Brian Polson is a pretty big time chef from around here, and I get to know him. And he said to me one time, he says, "No, man, to be a chef, you got to be a soldier, right?" And as time went on, and I spent more time in kitchens and seeing how executive chefs, you know, snap their fingers and their sous chef is right there. Yes, chef, what can I do for you? You know, they stand there like they look up at their chef, even if they don't have to look up at him, and just are totally subservient to that chef. But if they do that and they follow directions, the people that go to that restaurant can have an experience that they would not have otherwise. So the discipline has to be there. And I don't know, just it was real neat having Jonathan in the class, because I got to watch him and see how he did things. Yep. real good. Chefs will a lot of times will walk around with something that they've made and a bunch of spoons so that you can test it. Usually a sous chef the sous chef usually is the second in charge in the kitchen. The executive chef is the top dog. And maybe sometimes the owner is above that, maybe, but usually the owner will always, they'll tell the executive chef, no, you run it. I just own the place. I don't know how to do this, and the sous chef will a lot of times just be taking stuff into the executive and say, here, try this, try this, try this, it's good. Too much salt. Get it out of here. It tastes like crap, but anyway, that was a lot of fun. And talk about working over, under, and around. A guy that's trained as a professional chef, Jonathan ran into problems with the face diaper and the other thing at a complex, a restaurant complex that he was working for and had worked for a while. And finally said, no, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going to submit to your foolishness with this antidote for something that I don't have. And he punched out and went to work as a private chef. And I think he told me that he had 3 clients and he's doing better there, has more free time than he ever did. And so it was sort of a nudge that he needed to get him out the door, and real proud of him that he didn't just, oh, poor me. And when we were talking, he was like, I think I'm going to put together a kill truck. Because I tell you what, if you are a entrepreneur and you are you have a little bit of a background in food, and you are where I was for this class that we did down in Texas. This is right outside Dallas Fort Worth. I'm not sure how far exactly, but not too far. But there were more I saw more cattle than I did people, and it's like every person that has a house has cattle. They might little 20-acre chunks, but they'll have 20 beef out there, that they're just feeding. And I understand that the taxation out there is, if you are a homestead, and you have cattle, your taxes are like very low compared to if you don't have cattle, like a lot. So there are people that manage cattle for other people, because a lot of pros are leaving before the sun comes up, getting back before the sun comes down, but they save so much on their taxes that they do it. But they're suffering out there from the same problems that we're having out here, is the slowdown in processing and the absolute impossibility of getting dates to get your animals in and get them slaughtered. So old Sean, he's seen an opportunity here, and as soon as he got the legalities hammered out as far as processing beef, which not hard to figure out, but you do not want to play the USDA game or the Texas Department of Agriculture game at all. You do not want to get involved in that, because they're going to make things so difficult on you. You're going to be in the same boat as the USDA shops, because that's what they're there for. They're playing the game along with the people that are administering this program, this WuFlu program. They're playing along with it, So the way to do that is just be outside of it and set up your own thing and just operate under the Fifth Amendment, and you'll be fine. And so I think what Jonathan was planning on doing was setting up a kill truck, to where what you do is people call you and they say, yeah, I need 4 beef and I need them taken over to this butcher shop. And so Jonathan shows up, and this is the way the guy that showed me how to do this, the way he did it. He had a 1-ton Chevy old one, with a gin pole on the back is what it's called. And he would pull up in his truck, just take out his old 22, and a pump action Harrington and Richardson 22, and he'd hang that thing out with the truck running, rumbling, you know, it was an old gas engine, and he'd rest it on the mirror and go, pep, and all four legs of that cow would be off the ground, and then down and over. And he would do two of them at a time. So he'd pap, shoot two of them, and in a half an hour, those carcasses were wrapped and laid on the back, on either side of the gin pole on the back of his truck. It was a cradle that he had fabbed to do it. And it was a brilliant idea. I would much rather do that than have a box truck to where you put like 6 of them in. I'd rather just do 2, head for the shop, have lunch, head back out, do 2 more. That's it for the day. That's it. 4 beef a day. That's all I would do. On a big day, 6. That's how I would do it. Because each one of those kills, you can be charging $250, right? A custom kill like that so that's $1,000 day, and then you take your fuel off, and maybe if you have a helper, pay a helper. So do 6, and maybe you could back it down a little bit, maybe $180, something like that. So those are good days, and if you can do it 5 days a week, you're there. All right, so if you want to talk to me about that, Jonathan, I would love to. I could even put you in touch with Danny Isaacson out in Montana. Good guy. Any breeders in March? Yeah. Matter of fact, I have some now. I have 2 different groups. So if you get ready to pull the trigger, like if you want a boar and 2 sows, something like that, let me know and I'll set them out for you. And a boar and a sow, they'll be from completely different lines, and I'll set them out for you. You should take that class. Bring your wife with you too. She looks like she's fun. I stalked you, Andy. I stalked you on Stockbook. All right. Well, I hope I was clear as mud. As far as alternative living goes, the people that we had dinner with down in Texas, I mean, this was a real eye opener, and these people are, near to my heart because of the way that they're approaching life. And I came home. I couldn't wait to share with my son what this guy Taylor's doing. It was just really neat. He's basically a professional scrounger, is what he is. But, nothing wrong with that. And he buys stuff, cleans it up, fixes it if it needs be. So he's got a repair shop, and then sells it for a profit. Basically, that's what he does. But he doesn't just buy anything. He buys certain things because where he lives is certain people who need certain things. So tradesmen and things like that. And just very precise, when he is contemplating buying a certain piece of equipment, let's say a MIG welder or something, he makes his business to know everything that he needs to know about that MIG welder. And then once he knows he's got it, and the next time he goes to an auction and there's one of these, if it's not working, it's going to be this, or this. Nail it, fix it, and turn it over for a nice profit. It's a very legitimate thing. But the thing that I liked about these people was they were not slaves to the norm. Like the norm is, we bought this piece of land. Okay, we'll go to the bank and we're going to have to borrow some money. because we're going to have to build a house. Oh, how long do you want that for? Next 40 years? Okay, well, the house is built, and I'm going to be paying, $1,300 a month for the next 40 friggin' years. Why don't you just get a chain with a ball and forge it onto your leg? Because that's what that is for 40 years. And what if you don't make it 40 years? But instead of that, they said, well, that doesn't make sense. Let's live in a shipping container. Okay, sounds like an adventure. So they did. Got a shipping container, moved it there. We're going to just live in it. And then said, hey, wait a minute. This could be cool. Start laying it out on the ground, with masking tape and stuff, and said, hey, actually, the way the story went was he bid on a shipping container, but his computer froze up. And so he went, dit, 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 and he wound up buying 10 of them. But he got a good deal on them. So he had 5 of them there, and he put all 5 together and I guess drew them together with probably bolts and then cut out, hallways and things like that, or, walkways through. You wouldn't believe these things were shipping containers unless as you're walking up to it, it's not totally finished on the outside, which I think is fine. I think that actually looks, I could see my sister saying, oh, that's so gauche. But I just think it is so cool because, a really nice, good sized house with all the things that you would ever need. And you're not a slave to the house. It's paid for. I mean, he did the work himself. Some of the walls inside, I noticed, were particle board, exactly like what I do here. I mean, I do that because at the time I could get this stuff for $6 a sheet. It was cheaper than drywall at the time I bought this, and it's easier to work with, and I don't have to mud it and all that stuff. And I think it looks pretty good once it's got a coat of paint on it. It's not like anybody's scoring, me. It's a utility room, and it was built for utility, and it's serving the purpose, right? It's done, it's paid for, it's all that. So, I mean, very, very much after my own heart, and I got to see the nomadic living people, and it opened up a whole thought process in my mind about how nomadic living can, maybe not for everybody, but we can couple it with anyone can farm, and bringing information to the people in the tribe about how this guy is doing it. Imagine if I could call up Andy and say, hey, we're going to be coming through Greenbow, Alabama. Could we stop at your place? And while I'm there, do you mind if, we did like a little expose on your homestead, like a little interview, like, why are you doing this? You're retired from the military. Why didn't you go to work for a contractor or something like that? Why didn't you, a lot of jobs opened up to crew chief type people. You could be doing a lot of things. Why are you doing that? And I'd love to hear that testimony and see if it lines up with some of the reasons I did what I did. And I think people would find that very fascinating. Okay, what was your first step? What was your second step? Where are you now? For somebody who is contemplating doing this, has this burning desire to be a homesteader, to be self-sufficient, that information would be music to their ears. They need that. They need to know how to do that. I was talking with a friend today, and I've known her for going on about 3 years, I guess. And we've gotten to be pretty good friends. And when I met her, I was walking through a ballroom, and all of a sudden I stopped, and she was just, it's like she was looking for me, and all of a sudden she saw me and then came right over and said, "Hey, Mr. Baker, I'm da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na." And then we've been fast friends ever since. And there was some solutions that needed to be communicated back and forth. So when you have questions about the direction that you want to go and you're looking for those solutions, you find them, you'll know it, right? And so that's why I think that this content is not only useful and fun. I think it's imperative, because I've said this many times before, and I stand by this more now than ever, is the changes that our country is going through. I don't think industrial agriculture is going to last through it. It's not going to make it through it, because it's right now, the reasons why industrial agriculture can survive is because it's not a level playing field. I don't get money that the government has taken from this group of people to give to me. I don't get that, but industrial ag does. They get subsidies because their business model is unfunctional. It doesn't function properly. So when it systematically fails, the food production is going to have to be taken up with, that production is going to have to be made up by traditional farms, and a lot of traditional farmers have died off, and that's why I think this information is going to be imperative in the years to come. And like what we did with Scrunchy Mama, they see the vision, they see it, and they're saying, "Yeah, we're doing it." There was no question. It was just, well, Sean's just like, "Yeah, we can do this. Yeah, we can do this." I'll never forget that. And he did it. He didn't just say he was going to do it. He did it. And they're going to take over, or they're going to start doing classes there next month. Did one tutorial with us, and then it's like, here we go. All right, he'll make it. I'm quite sure of it. I'd like to send a little help his way, ensure it, but that's not imperative. Not imperative. He'll do it, and that's what needs to happen. We cannot just have one trainer. We have to have thousands of trainers, and that's what our grandparents were all about. All right. Well, there you go. I hope that helps. Got a good group tonight. Jack Russum's not with us. What's the story? I called him an old man on one of the videos. I said, well, with all due respect, and I think I'm saying that because you're an old man. I think he's probably younger than me. I was just breaking his chops. Okay, I'm going to sign off. Tomorrow night's going to be open line. And so if you all could think of some things that you want to talk about and, spread this around. We really need to like and subscribe on this new channel. If you could please do that, like and subscribe. And please share it with your friends and associates and enemies too. Share it with your friends and enemies. All right. I'm going to get out of here. This is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. And remember, anyone can farm. We will see you tomorrow night. Sayonara.